how to choose a cage for a parrot that is about Ale size, and he is around 150 grams, up to a larger parrot that is, say, around 300 grams. And so we are talking about a Pionus parrot, a Caique parrot, and with the larger cage option I'm going to give you, you can even get away with something like an Amazon. And because my umbrella cockatoo is not very active, it actually works for her really well as a night cage because she lives outside of her cage all day long. Hi guys, I'm Kaylin, the author of The Parrot Bliss Bond. Get to know African Grey and Cape Parrots, Feathered Splendor, an awesome full color picture book that's going to teach you some basics about 20 different species. And I'm getting really close to releasing my newest book, 30 perfect apartment parrots, so that you can choose the perfect apartment parrot for you out of the 30 species. All sorts of different parrots, from the golden, it's going to be so perfect in an apartment, to silver and bronze grouped parrots that are for those of us who want to live a little more on the edge. Maybe you want a parrot that's a little harder to bond with, or a little that talks a little more. So that book's going to be coming out real soon. Now, what is a really good cage? How do you choose a cage for something like that Pionus or Caique or Quaker, even my Cape parrots, even Arabella? When we look at a cage, I just did a video on a little more in depth on how to choose a cage, and so I'll put a link to that. But ever so quickly, I will just say to you that you want to look at your parrot's activity level. Now, for the parrots that I'm talking about, a Cape parrot, a Pionus parrot, a Caique parrot, a Quaker parrot, you can always go bigger, but the smaller size cages that I like are going to be like Ale's size cage. And Ale, you could see he's not really in his cage during the day anyway. It is 24 inches going this way, 22 inches going this way, and then it is 32 inches high. So when you look at that, it's plenty of room for Ale. And actually Jules, my Indian ringneck, tends to go in with him. They tend to house together at night. They like each other. And so that works. That's a really nice size cage. One of the things that I look for in a cage is a cage that lets me put their water bowl, their food bowl, and I really like the no mess feeders, but they don't work as well for my larger birds. They tend to work better for my smaller birds. I mean, they do work for my medium-sized birds, but I don't love them quite as much. So in any case, I really want to make sure that the cage's dishes for the water and food, and maybe for a breakfast dish, right? Now I've got 3 different dishes. I want to be able to put them places where I can put the perches, like I can still give them toys and perches. And when my parrot's in those toys and perches, they're not going to poop into their water or their food or their breakfast, because that'll drive me crazy. I have this crazy belief that my parrots should not be forced to have water or food that has poop in it, right? If you are crazy like me, you'll want the same thing. So that cage at the 24, 22, and 32, and I'll put a picture of the cage, that works. That's a cage that a lot of exotic bird stores carry. A lot of online stores that have, exotic bird stores online that sell cages, like the aviary. If you look up the aviary in Miami, they've got cages, and I believe they'll ship them to you. They will carry this kind of size, this standard size. Size number 2 that I really like, I think you can even get them on Amazon. Size number 2 that I really like is 23 inches deep. 23 by 31 wide by 32 inches high. That's a pretty darn good size as well. And one thing I like about that a little better is, one of the things you have to do is you have to observe your parrot. But because it's more of a rectangle, I can put those food bowls in. And with that size cage, well, with both size cages, they often have one dish that's up higher, and I tend to put the water dish in there. That door is for a nest box if you want to put a nest box in, but I tend to put a water dish up there because my parrots don't tend to perch as much during the day up so high, and so they're less likely to get poop in their water. Again, like I like for that to stay clean. So that rectangle size, it gives you more room to put the dishes in with plenty of other space for them to be in, play in, that kind of thing. Sometimes parrots like to go to one side of the cage though, so observe where your parrot likes to hang out. Generally speaking, they like to hang out in a corner that maybe has some protection, maybe has more perches, and maybe has more toys. By protection, what I mean is sometimes on the outside of the cage, I will put a thin piece of plywood. Why? So that they have one place where they can go and hide. If you look at birds in the wild, you know, they're amazing. We have wild Quakers across the lake. Sometimes they show up, a family that, you know, flies around. And I can see them flying, and then when they go into the tree, they disappear. And they aren't the only ones. I see mockingbirds, I see blue jays around me, and they just disappear into the leaves. So I feel like a cage should offer that. It should have some appearing space and some semi-disappearing space. So I like to hang a toy a lot of the time that they'll destroy, but they can hide behind. And like I said, I like to either maybe have some plants, although when I make sure that the plant is non-toxic, one of the things that happens is that when my parrot can reach the plant, they will do things like this. They reach this plant, so they give it a hair trim. My old macaw gave my mango tree such a hair trim. It wasn't a huge tree, right? It was only a few feet high. She killed it. She took all the leaves, she annihilated it. No more mango tree, like there goes that expensive tree right out the door. And I'm kind of going, well, it's like a toy, except my poor mango plant. So I like for them to have that space. If you give them a space like that and then put the food on the other side, you know, first of all, it encourages some movement, but second of all, one thing I really like about that is they're gonna hang out on one side and they're not gonna be pooping in that cage. So there you have two cages that are two of my actually favorite sizes. If you have more room in your house and you can go bigger, go for it. I think that's fantastic. But most people don't have like tons of room, right? And so if you don't have tons of room, then these are great sizes that work, especially if you let your your bird out during the day. I hope that helps you figure out how to choose a bird or how to choose a cage for those size birds. If you enjoyed this, even though I tripped over my tongue one or two times, please be sure to give me one of these. Check out my links below to my books, to my coloring books, my parrot coloring books, and I'll be working on some more of those, to my up and coming book, to my favorite rescue, because if you're looking for rescue, she rehomes within the contiguous US, and oh my God, Bird Gardens of Naples does a fantastic job. I love their parrots. I actually only have one rehomed parrot from her because she's not super close to me and I like to go to her. I don't like to take up her time. I like to really try to support her. But she is fantastic and you should contact her. So check out my links below, and then Ale and Orbel and I will catch you in the next feathered and perfect cage video. Okay. There you go. Are you saying hi to your friend?